Kia ora tātou katoa, nā mahina nui ki a koutou, ko Waio, ko Nongataha Tongariro, ka ke puku nā maunga, ko Rotorua nui a Kahumata Momoe, me taupo nui a te nā roto, ko Waipa te awa, ko Ngāti Whakaue, Ngāti Turumakina, Ngāti Inu, Ngāti Kahu, Ngā Hapu, ko Tonopu, ko Te Mahau, ko Inu, Ngā Marae, ko Ngāti Whakaue, Ngāti Tū Wharetoa, Ngāti Maniapoto, Ngā Iwi, ko Te Aroa Tainui Ngā Waka, ko Henriata Nicholas tōku ingoa. Kia ora tātou katoa. He whakatau ki tāku, ki a koutou. E hara taku toa i te toa taki tahi, engari i te toa taki tini. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, nau mai haere mai, tēnā tātou katoa. I live in Waitomo Caves, that is where I make my home, and that is our beautiful whenua by Uekaha. And I'm an uhi tāmoko practitioner. What I'm hoping to do with this presentation is give you a little insight into uhi and my practice, a little bit of history, a little bit of information around how I became an uhi artist, and hopefully enthrall you and excite you to become uhi practitioners, to thrive in the art form and to make it a living art form. One of the reasons why I got into uhi was not necessarily to become a practitioner, but to actually share my knowledge with others and to invigorate the new generation of Moko artists. Hopefully I can give you some sort of understanding around the practice so that you'll be excited to become a practitioner as well. So as Pacific people, specifically as Māori, we always marked our skin. When we left Hawaii to come to Aotearoa, and we not only changed our lifestyle and were influenced by the landscape that we were in, it actually changed our art forms. And in terms of tāmoko, we made our patterns more curvilinear, and we started carving skin, which is very different to any other Pacific practice. In Aotearoa, in terms of tāmoko patterns, we use the skin as the pattern and the ink to accentuate that pattern, to play on positive and negative, and the practice is tāmoko. In Hawaii, it's kakau. In Samoa, it's tatau. Here in Aotearoa, it's tāmoko. Uhi tāmoko is the practice that I use. So tāmoko is the physical process by which a rākau hits a chisel, albatross chisel bone filled with ink into the skin, is the aesthetic adornment of moko. Tools are called uhi. They're used in unison with the artist practitioner, the stretcher tauafi, and the body canvas. It's a collaborative process. Moko can't be accessioned, databased, or catalogued into a collection. It is only alive if the wearer agrees to share it. Unlike other major art forms where taonga can be preserved, conserved long after the artist is gone, uhi moko is a personal taonga. It can only be shared if the wearer agrees. When the wearer passes into the spiritual realm, that moko is no longer seen. Like many art forms, an artist's practice only lasts as long as the practitioner. Now here in Aotearoa, we don't have very many artists practicing uhi, and in fact, when I started in 2003, I was the first wahine Māori to revive uhi in 200 years, and that time I think we only have a handful of uhi artists working in Aotearoa today, in 2020, as opposed to our machine artists, which are a huge amount of artists, and they go globally. Unless we have artists and canvases for the art form, this cultural practice will actually be extinguished. So that is one of my main reasons for doing this exhibition, is to highlight the fact of uhi and to create some interest in becoming artists, so that this art form can live on. In 1984, it was a very different world here in Aotearoa. On the world stage, Te Māori was out on the world stage, and it was elevating our cultural artistry to the world. Back here in Aotearoa, there are a number of whakairo artists taking our patterns and putting them onto skin and reviving the art form of tāmoko. That, specifically from our Māori community, that art form should be, it's dead, it's gone, it should be buried. This art form as being gang related, and I guess that became apparent because the only people who were getting bodies of work done were gang members that wanted their affiliations covered. So there were a lot of negative connotations around in the early stages of the revival of tāmoko. That has changed dramatically over the last 20 years, and it's become a normal sight to see moko faces and kauae walking down the street. In fact, that kapahaka was still utilising moko patterns on bodies. And today, you see a lot of those bodies and faces now have changed their Sharpie ink to tattoo ink, and they're real moko that are on those people's bodies, and it's a great sight to see. I was quite fortunate that my brother was one of the tāmoko revival artists, and in 1997 I began an apprenticeship with him. At that time, Paulo Siloape had been making his way into the tāmoko fraternity and investing time and effort to teach those artists and other artists about using traditional tools. 2002, I met Kione Nunes at Takaparafa at the launch of Te Uhi a Mataora, and we had a stage full of artists, and he came along and used his traditional tools to work on my cousin's kauae. It was a very special and awesome experience. That's what actually pushed me to talk to him about becoming an artist, but with uhis, but never actually worked with a tattoo machine. I've never actually owned a machine. I've never worked with a machine. And when I saw uhi being utilised, that's what resonated with me. That's what gave me the push to learn uhi, and I've never looked back. Kione gave us an invitation, some of us, to go over to Hawaii to learn with his ohana of artists. So in 2003, I got a Creative New Zealand grant, and I spent a 3-month residency over in Hawaii with his ohana of artists, learning how to make tools, learning how to be communal about the art form, on how he teaches his apprentices only uhi. And after that residency, I came back to Aotearoa and got into working with Ngāhuia Te Awe Kotuku and Linda Waimari Nicola on their tāmoko project, and I became a research assistant. So I researched and presented papers on moko, did a huge amount of research with them, and that research turned into the book Moko. During that time, I had the amazing experience to start my first full male puhoro with uhi, from start to finish. So from talking to the person and talking about their aspirations and putting them into a pattern and design, drawing on the body, right through to making my tools specifically for him in that period of time. I transformed my tools dramatically. I created my new set of tools, used albatross bone, made tools to fit my wahine Māori hands, and I imbued a mātauranga Māori, wahine mātauranga Māori practice and process in my work. There has been some negative attitudes from other artists about my practice in terms of being a wahine Māori, but you never let that stand in your way. I'm pushed to be part of this art form. It's an art form that I'm passionate about, and I love it, and I love teaching it, and that's why I'm practicing in this art form. I want to share that art form, that knowledge with others, and begin the new generation of artists, uhi artists out there, and see what they can do and how they can be innovative with handmade tools. I work in a very mātauranga Māori way and with a Te Ao Māori perspective. The mahi I do is uhi, and the patterns I ink into your skin are moko. I have a certain practice and a way of working that ensures the integrity of my wairua and whakapapa, so I can connect with your wairua and whakapapa appropriately. There is a process that I use for everyone, despite your skin colour and ethnicity, to nurture the relationship and ensure we are both ready to embark on marking the skin, because it is a collaborative process. My tools are traditionally based, yet contemporised, to enable me to work with a myriad of materials I have available. Even though some of my Samoan counterparts are starting to use needles instead of bone chisel, I prefer to use albatross because I love the sound that the tools make, and I'm challenged by working with a taonga such as albatross bone. My skill in artistry enables me to cut it just exact so I can use my tools effectively, and you can't get that if you solder needles together and make a uniformed line. The perfection in uhi is the imperfection of the materials and the tools that you make as an artist. My practice requires me to sit on the floor to get mattresses and work on the floor, and that brings me closer to papatu anuku. Feel that sense of whenua around me and with me. I hand make all my tools. I use perspex, fishing line, Parasafe to clean my tools. When we work together, it's about a wānanga of learning. So it's not just about me imparting knowledge on the stretcher and the stretcher working with me to achieve the aspirations of the person who we're working on, but it's actually to inform the whānau and support system that is around that person, so that long after we're gone, they are supported. We know they're supported. Practitioners, despite the slow uptake of uhi practitioners here in Aotearoa, there is a lot of interest, high interest from whānau hapu to receive uhi. And this is really encouraging for artists like myself. But I can't do this alone, and neither can other artists here in Aotearoa. And there are only a few artists, a handful of artists working solely with uhi. I know and understand the art form I practice. I'm connected to its origins through my own whakapapa and my relationships to the tools. Although I have done all of this, my focus has always been, not necessarily as a practitioner, but to continue the legacy of the practice. I see myself as a teacher and mentor for others to continue in this art form, and I hope uhi won't become a lost cultural practice. My passion is to create educational opportunities for new practitioners, and it's hoped that this and other presentations will generate interest for other practitioners to come, and a new generation of practitioners to come forward. I guess last thoughts to pass on to anyone who really is encouraged to become a practitioner of uhi. Please take the steps to contact me. You'll learn how to stretch, you'll learn how to design, to design it in a way that fits uhi. You'll learn how to make your tools, and we'll teach you how to work with your tools and how to create your own process and your own practice that you can imbue your own uniqueness into it. In order for uhi to survive and thrive, it needs to be valued for its cultural connection to our tupuna, our whakapapa, our mana, our wairua, to ourselves, to the present and the future. Kia ora tātou katoa.